Hello, Tar Heel Nation, and happy holidays. Yogi Gill back. It's been a little while since I've been on the pod. It's been a very busy month, as I'm sure it has been for all of you fans out there. And coming off of a 74-64 win in Las Vegas at the CBS Sports Classic over UCLA has all of Tar Heel Nation and Carolina basketball fans feeling a lot better going into the holiday break than before after a 4-game losing streak. So I'm not going to dissect the matchups or the games too deeply. Our 3 of our 4 losses of that 4-game losing streak were to top 5 opponents, currently ranked in the top 5 in the AP poll. And college basketball is just kind of upside down this year. We got number 1 teams losing every time they get ranked number 1. So I think we're all feeling a lot better, and in large part due to the emergence of Jeremiah Francis and Anthony Harris finally getting healthy after seasons off, in some cases, after their knee injuries. Particularly Jeremiah Francis has come in and stabilized the point guard position after we learned of Cole Anthony's injury and that he'd be out 4 to 6 weeks with a torn meniscus. At this point, when you're listening to this, it might be in the 3 to 5 week range. And so some interesting things, lots of stuff happening in Carolina basketball world. So we get that news 90 minutes before tip-off against Wofford, before they play in Carmichael Arena, and they can't quite handle their business against Wofford. That was very disappointing for all of us and left us with a sour taste in our mouth. Also leaving us with a lack of confidence, I think, both as fans and, of course, the players on the team. But they came out and started playing much better when they faced off against Gonzaga in Spokane, Washington. They didn't quite, pull the upset off in that game, but they looked a lot better. The ball movement was so much better, with Jeremiah Francis scoring in double figures for the first time in over 1,000 days. And we just looked like a more competent team offensively, particularly. Gonzaga is a really good team, and we had our struggles defensively, but I think that they're ranked number 2 for a reason, and they got some good players, and we had a tough time dealing with what they brought. Baycott at the time was going through his struggles. I'm not sure how related it is to his injury after coming off of that ankle sprain that he suffered against Virginia. He went 3 for 20 over a 2-game stretch, but then he bounced back strong against UCLA, getting a double-double, 15 points and 12 rebounds. Him and Garrison Brooks looked very good in that game, and Garrison Brooks has been solid, pretty much our most solid player, night in and night out, and that's good to see. I'd like to see him make his free throws. As a whole, our free throw percentage on the season is not good, and we need to get better at that. Anthony Harris, man, we're all loving what he's bringing to the team, a sense of tenacity, just a lot of fight, a lot of hustle. Every time he comes in, I'm like, yes, I like that guy on the court. Whatever he's doing, he's working his tail off. And I think Roy Williams echoed those sentiments exactly in his press conference post-UCLA. I was somewhat surprised in that UCLA game that he didn't come in the first half until with like 3 minutes left to play or something like that in the first half. I was just expecting to see a little bit more of him, but we saw plenty of him in the second half. Thank goodness, because I don't want to say bailed us out, but he certainly brought a lot of energy that we desperately needed. After going up by 13 at half against UCLA, we come out of the second half flat. Another one of those long spells that we've seen this season, about 5 minutes without scoring, and Anthony Harris was our first one to get some points on the board with some free throws. So we went like 5.5 minutes before we got a field goal, and UCLA cut that 13-point lead down to 1, starting off the second half of the 12-0 run. So we definitely needed some energy, and Anthony Harris brought it. He hit 2 3-pointers that were crucial in that key stretch of the game. He made defensive plays. He got a steal on a fast break. He made his own tip-in off of the break. So, man, those 2 freshmen have come in and given all of Carolina fans, all Tar Heel Nation, some hope. That's the buzzword right now for Carolina. And we're feeling a lot better sitting at 7-5 when we take a moment, and we got a little moment now with the holiday break to pause and reflect on this first third of the season, essentially. Not the record that we wanted, of course. Certainly a lot of stuff has happened. We've faced a lot of injuries, and we've played a lot of good teams. So when we pause and we look at that, we can feel a little bit better, and we certainly do feel a lot better having won our last game. Man, what a difference a win makes versus a loss. But we're sitting at 7-5. We're 1-1 in the ACC, And we've got Yale at home as our next game, and that's on a Monday night, December 30th. And then we've got 3 ACC opponents all at home. We got Georgia Tech, Pittsburgh, and then Clemson. So potentially, if we run the table in those 4 games, we could be sitting at 4-1 in the ACC. That would put us at a record of 11-5. We're feeling pretty good about that. Now, none of these are gimmies, of course. We're I think, becoming to appreciate this year that in years past, the talent level perhaps a little bit higher, but maybe some of us in Tar Heel Nation taking wins for granted a little bit. So this year we're really appreciating every win that we get, every basket that goes through the hoop. I'm telling you, I'm excited about because it has been a struggle. But there's hope, as I was saying. We can start the ACC well with home games, then our first road ACC game, minus the Virginia loss, of course. Our next road game is at Pittsburgh, so very winnable. So potentially we could get off to a good start, get a good ACC record going, and then I think we're feeling a lot different, in just less than a month than we were, a few days ago after losing 4 games. And of course, that's not something that we see a whole lot with Carolina basketball, is going on an extended losing streak like that. So glad to put that streak to an end with a win over UCLA. The first half was certainly not pretty basketball. Both teams struggling, a lot of turnovers. But a win's a win, and we got it. Even if we got to get it ugly, that's great. That's good for this team, which there's just so many new players on the team, so many young players, and of course the 2 grad transfers, which I think most of us would say we've been wanting more from. Which leads me to a quick topic that I just feel like I want to address. This is my first year spending a little bit more time on Twitter. As you know, I haven't been super active, but a little bit more active this year, following a lot of Carolina basketball people, Carolina fans, and I love the ones that I read that are positive, but there's so many that are negative out there, and let's just all stay positive, both in mind frame and in how we communicate, whether that be social media or around the water cooler at work, whatever. Like, let's stay positive. Okay, maybe the talent was down a little bit, but guys are learning new roles, and I think that everybody's going to fit in. Trust in Roy, as many of you guys have been saying, everybody's going to fit in when we need them to fit in. So those of you that are dogging on those grad transfers, I believe that they still can provide some very crucial pieces for us. I could see Justin Pierce getting some he crashes the glass nice and hard. I can see him getting some key offensive rebounds and putbacks in stretches of games when we desperately need a basket. And Christian Keeling showed some good life against Gonzaga. There on the road, he got his 12 points, his best game of the season so far. He didn't follow that up with anything too impressive against UCLA. Roy pointed out, not specifically in his press conference but he said that he pointed to 3 or 4 guys in the locker room after the game and said, you want to play more, then play better. So he's asking them to step up, as a coach should. And so it's on those players to execute and play better. Let's trust that they will, that they're working hard. That hard work has paid off for Jeremiah Francis and Anthony Harris in their long rehabbing return to get on the court. And so let's trust that we're going to get there where we want to be, and just enjoy it. As Carolina fans, I think that we've been blessed with so many great players over the years, so many great seasons, and I just saw so much NIT talk and bad mouthing of players on social media that I'd like for all of us to do a little bit better, and I know that we can, and I know that I was guilty too. After the Ohio State loss, it was hard to find any bright spots. So that was a dark stretch for us, but hopefully we're coming out. We're emerging into the lighter side of the schedule, so to speak, and we got some players that are starting to build some confidence. So Garrison Brooks showing that he is going to give us something consistent every night, close to double-double numbers. Armando Bacot, if we can get him more consistent, finishing around the rim, be a little bit stronger, particularly on the defensive glass, I would love to see. I feel like we gave up way too many offensive rebounds to Ohio State, definitely, but also to UCLA. I was like, come on, get that rebound. So he's getting pushed under the basket, and that's where our coaches are going to coach them up, get those players ready, point out where they're a little bit soft and get them to strengthen up. So all in all, we got a lot of promise from a young team. A lot of those players could be back next year, hopefully, we'll see. But what's going to be interesting, focusing on the present, is when Cole Anthony comes back from his injury, how everything's going to fit together, with Jeremiah Francis getting more and more playing time, although he hasn't started yet. KJ Smith getting the starts in the last 3 games. Jeremiah Francis has increased his load and started to play starter minutes, I think 28 minutes, something to that effect, against UCLA. So will that be interesting to see if Cole Anthony returns to the point guard position, if he shifts over to the 2 guard position with Jeremiah Francis playing the point, Leaky Black, is he the backup point, or is Cole Anthony going to fill that position? It'll be interesting to see what Roy does when he has a healthy Cole Anthony back. It's a good problem to have, certainly, to have players that are playing well, good players that have the pedigree, of course, of someone like Cole Anthony. So it'll be interesting to see how he fits those puzzle pieces together. I think most of us are thinking at this point Cole Anthony might switch over to the 2, take a little bit more of that scoring load, and Jeremiah Francis is a little bit more pushing the pace, moving the ball around, getting us moving, getting the offense flowing, which maybe that's going to be for the best. We'll see. I think Cole Anthony is an excellent point guard and has a lot of good skills and good traits, but maybe the ball does move a little bit better, and certainly Jeremiah Francis is helping us push the tempo, it seems, because up until the last 2 games, us getting out on the break just was something that was pretty much non-existent, and I saw some uncontested layups or breakaways here in the last couple games that was like, yes, we need those. We need every single bit of those that we can get. And then Jeremiah Francis and Anthony Harris both hitting in some 3-pointers. It's not something that we necessarily are going to come to expect or did expect from them, but certainly welcome, because we certainly need it as we've been struggling from the perimeter and struggling field goal percentage-wise all season long. So I think the ball movement is key to get us in the right positions. I've been noticing particularly the inability to feed the post, or inability to feed the post where those guys are in a good attacking scoring position. They end up getting pushed out before we can get them the ball. There was bad spacing against UCLA where we're basically throwing a bounce pass to someone's ankles or feet from just a few feet away. So those things will get cleaned up. I trust in the coaches and those players starting to understand their role a little bit better now that we've gotten through that first third of the season. So this next stretch for us is going to be huge. And I think that we can do it. I think that we can get into a good position in the ACC, finish in the top half, and I believe this team's going to make the NCAA. They might not be as high of a seed as we're used to, but hey, Carolina, once they get into the NCAA tournament, anything can happen, and we're certainly seeing that this year with college basketball. There's just not any teams that are the only team to beat. As people have said, there's not any great teams, but there's just a lot of teams that are figuring it out. So I think anything can happen still this year. There's definitely promise with a lot of younger players starting to gain confidence, starting to understand their roles. So at this point in the season, despite the record of 7-5, overall feeling much better going into this holiday break, thanks to the emergence of a couple freshmen on the perimeter and the steady play of our interior, Garrison Brooks. And if Baycott can stay strong and stay steady and more consistent, then we've got some good pieces for this season. So let's enjoy our holiday. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm keeping this podcast pretty short. Didn't want to dive too much into statistics. And just say hey, Tar Heel Nation, let's stay positive. Let's trust in the coaches. Let's give the players our support. And as fans, let's just have some fun, enjoy watching the games, live and die with the games, but stay positive and communicate nothing but support and love for all of your Carolina coaches, players, and be positive one to one another as fans out there too, because I see those comments going back and forth sometimes as well. So will we see a starting 5 of Jeremiah Francis, Brandon Robinson, Anthony Harris, Armando Baycott, and Garrison Brooks? I'm thinking that Roy's going to keep Anthony Harris coming off the bench. I like him actually coming off the bench, really providing a spark and some energy. I think he's going to keep Leaky Black so long as Leaky Black is healthy in the starting 5 for the next several games. He might even continue to start KJ Smith, possibly, just to kind of keep the workload and those minutes down for Jeremiah Francis, but I'm not sure. I think Jeremiah Francis is going to be starting before the season is over, and probably not too far off. When Cole Anthony returns, where's that going to shift the lineup? It's going to be another identity figuring out thing once he gets back. Maybe he's getting back right around the time when we're starting to get a little bit more difficult games and some road games. So hopefully he can reintegrate himself well with the new pieces that are starting to play well. And hopefully Carolina continues to finish and play stronger down this big stretch run into the ACC. That's all I got today. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Hope you have a fantastic holiday. I look forward to seeing you guys again. We'll be back on Instagram for some post-game quick instant analysis. I was just so busy over the last couple weeks and dealing with a little bit of a sore throat. Back feeling good. The holidays will be in our rearview mirror by the time we play again, or at least the major big holiday. And then we got basketball. We got a smorgasbord of ACC basketball, my favorite time of the year. Super looking forward to it, and I think Carolina can show up as one of the top dogs in the ACC again this year. So let's stay behind our heels. Everybody, thanks so much. Have a great holiday. Go Heels.